When Beto O'Rourke told the world the Democrat playbook, hell yes, we intend to take your AR-15s and your AK-47s, I was compelled to go to him because I saw that a disarmed populace, if the citizenry in America is disarmed, then we are no longer citizens. We are subjects. You know, here in America, we have gourmet treats for puppies. We have these amazing groomers for dogs. Well, in Venezuela, they eat the dogs. And it started because they don't have firearms. They do not have a way to protect themselves, to defend themselves against a tyrannical government.
We've got gourmet treats, we've got fancy dog groomers, and we have absolute morons serving in Congress. What is wrong with you, Lauren Boebert? The idea that Venezuela ended up having to eat dogs because they didn't have enough AK-47s is, I'll say, sort of a hypothesis, technically. Now, we have ways to interrogate hypotheses. We can look into, you're attempting to establish a causal link. Get rid of the guns, the society falls apart. But your argument falls apart even faster when you consider that there are multiple countries in the world that have tons of guns and don't have governments that function well, that haven't dealt with things like basic, food and that sort of thing. There's also many societies that don't have many guns at all, let alone any AK-47s or AR-15s, and they're doing not just as well as us, but are far happier societies with nary a dog being eaten that you can see. So Jessica, it's on its face such a stupid argument, but it's delivered with so much cheap knockoff mean girl confidence that I think a lot of her followers probably bought it. Oh, you're muted.
Oh no, we're here. Yes, this is a sophisticated political analysis from our friend here. I think there was some consideration as to how much white suburban voters care about dogs with this narrative, because it doesn't hold up. Look at Bolsonaro. He took a major step to increase people's ability to get guns in Brazil. Terribly authoritarian government there in Brazil. So just a beautiful counterexample, but also like, of course, they're not going to talk about the widespread violence, the guerrilla fighting, and the arms all throughout Latin America. That's thanks to US intervention in the 80s. Absurd, absolutely absurd. And of course, they're not going to talk about Bolsonaro either, because Tucker Carlson and the likes of the right love to prop up Bolsonaro. He's their guy.
100%. Yeah, it's on its face. It's so absurd. I mean, not only can you look at, let's jump ahead to the last graphic. I mean, you can look at a map of per capita gun ownership. And we are such a massive outlier. Like even the idea that taking away just the AR-15s and AK-47s or other similar, semi-automatic rifles would still result in our country having hundreds of millions of guns. So to declare that you're afraid that we're gonna run short on guns is such a fake fear to have. But it also doesn't make sense for the countries that have lots of guns and the ones that don't. That doesn't make any sense. Even the argument, again, like I don't want to reiterate this, but it is really amazing to hear from these people who say that they support the troops. Sure, they support the troops and they imply that Joe Bob and a couple of his drinking buddies could take out the US military. It is such a stupid argument. And it's sort of intentionally stupid, because they want you to believe that the way you stop authoritarianism, the way you stop an out of control government, a government existing that doesn't have your best interests in mind, is to have more guns. That if the government isn't doing what you want, the only alternative is to kill it. She is a part of a government that is not representative. She wants to be part of a ruling majority with Trump that will not, they won't rule in the interests of regular people, even regular conservatives. No. Shooting the Marines is not how you get representative government. Replacing Lauren Boebert with someone who's actually going to represent you, that's how you get representative government. And so it's convenient for them to continually point the finger and their guns at the Navy and the Air Force and imply that they're potentially the bad guys when they're actively the bad ones at that point.
Absolutely, yeah. And even Andy Biggs making the case that the reason people in Arizona need assault weapons is because there's an invasion over our southern border. They are so confused about who the bad guy is, but it doesn't really matter because they're going to say anything they need to make people believe these policies are bad ideas because they're getting so much money from the gun lobby. But then we get into this weird territory where people like Lauren Boebert and the far right really want people to have guns because, if people who agree with their agenda have guns, and Andy Biggs clearly aligns with people like the El Paso mass shooter who wrote something very similar in his manifesto, they want their guns to enforce their political agenda. That's very clear. But then you have the more Republican establishment folks who are just doing it because they're getting money from the gun lobby. And it's really a tricky situation because you have people who are saying, yes, we absolutely need guns to fight for our freedom and fight the government, which they actually might do one day. And then you have these folks who are just in politics to line their pockets, essentially, who are in the same party as these people and effectively fighting for the same thing. And the far right's chickens are kind of coming home to roost with this because now these people are latching on to the policy platform, but are fighting for it for completely different reasons. And things are getting really out of hand and they're more fractured than ever. But because these people have popular support, they're going to keep running and winning. There's a reason both Erics in this race where Donald Trump has endorsed both Erics are happy to have that endorsement because they care about winning, even if they differ slightly in why they're fighting for the policies they are.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, we're gonna move on to our next segment. I was just gonna add one more thing. So look, if you're familiar with Lauren Boebert, you know that she had one of her more minor scandals was back when she owned her restaurant, that there was that bout of explosive diarrhea. And we always assumed that it was caused by them not cooking the meat properly or her not wiping after coming out of the bathroom. I don't know. But now after this, I'm wondering, what exactly did cause that explosive diarrhea? What was in that meat?